I've got to confess I'm beginning to wonder whether I'm living in a parallel universe. It seems that few are prepared to challenge the course that's being taken in New South Wales. Now, this affects all Australia. To my viewers all over Australia, I know your businesses are affected as well. People travel interstate on business. They can't. People love going to the wine districts of Victoria, South Australia and WA. They can't. They want to travel to go skiing. They can't. Or simply visit. They can't. The situation in Australia's biggest city affects all of Australia. As I've said, the Commonwealth increasingly has little in common, except massive dislocation and astonishing and increasing debt. There are many questions government won't answer because they can't. And that's why they make stuff up on the run. For example, Gladys Berejiklian is on record as saying that nothing will be normal until we get 80% vaccination. The national tally is currently 9.34% fully vaccinated. The number of Australians with the first dose is 26.8%. So at some point, government are going to have to change direction. Or are we in lockdown forever until we get to 80%? Months and months, perhaps years. It's now been extended in Sydney, the lockdown, and other regions until July 30, but even then they're not telling us the truth. My information is the lockdown in Sydney and other local government areas, the Blue Mountains, Central Coast, Wollongong, Shell Harbour, will be at least until August 20. Who the hell can survive till then? We tested 65,322 people in New South Wales in the last 24 hours. Of all of those tested, 0.14% tested positive, but that means only 0.0028% are serious. I repeat, get your head around that. 0.0028% are serious. So what do we have? Government stubbornly sticking to their strategy, and you are paying for what Gladys Berejiklian calls respecting the rules we have in place. The price tag to July 30, you pay $9 billion. As I said last night to Adam Crichton, Florida has a similar population to ours, 22 million to our 25 million. Last week, they had 23,747 new cases. The Governor DeSantis said he would not, quote, even contemplate doing any type of lockdown. Honestly, he said, it's insane, unquote. Well, here, Liberal government is meant to honour, above all else, freedom, low levels of debt, getting government out of our lives and personal responsibility. That's why the polls are crook, Prime Minister. All those things have been abandoned. The South Dakota governor, 49-year-old Kristi Noem in America, has refused lockdowns and mandating masks, but rather she said she's going to provide residents, or is providing, with information about, quote, what is happening on the ground in our state, the science, the facts, the data. She said, no mandates. We trusted our people, gave them all the information and told them that personal responsibility was the best answer. And I have said many times, I'm not opposed to a vaccination, but I am saying that our Australian immunisation handbook makes it clear that, quote, vaccines must be given voluntarily in the absence of undue pressure, coercion or manipulation. Gladys Berejiklian says vaccination levels will have to be 80% before we get back to normal. So if we don't get to 80%, are we locked down forever? If not, when will both Scott Morrison and Gladys Berejiklian and Palaszczuk and the lot of them admit they're going down the wrong road, turn back? The serious cases overnight are 0.0028% in New South Wales of those tested. It's not a brave person, it's a fool who would argue that this justifies the phenomenal personal, economic, psychological and educational costs that we are bearing. And remember, Gladys, all because of a limousine driver. Dominic Perrottet says the State Treasurer, quote, ultimately will have to learn to live alongside the virus. Well, he's right. But we're going to have to fight for freedoms here. And unfortunately, I won't be backing off. We're going to have to fight for the truth. I'm not anti-vaccination, but I am pro putting all the facts on the table. Try this. While we're forking out more money to compensate individuals and businesses for a problem created by government, none of these people are surrendering a single cent. They might have some credibility. Gladys, if you forewent 50% of your salary, Scott. Here are a couple of facts. 87.3% of adults in Britain have had one vaccination jab, 87.3. 66% have had a second, both jabs. There were more than 36,000 new cases in the UK overnight. Surely this exposes the fallacy that mass vaccinations are the pathway to lowering community transmission of the Delta strain. The statistics prove what we know. The Delta strain is more transmissible than earlier strains, but a lot weaker. On the 18th of June, we had only 3% of Australians injected twice. Israel had 60% injected twice, but we both had similar numbers of new infections. Since then, Israel's new infection rate has skyrocketed. Doesn't that mean that if we were like Israel and had rushed into mass injections, we wouldn't be having this current outbreak in Sydney? That's a fallacy. I'm suggesting to you that a lot of what we're being fed is sidestepping the truth. We're on simply the wrong tack. At some point, Morrison and Berejiklian and co. are going to have to turn around.